you have done your matched edit and keyframe part of the assignment, now let's get into the frame rate part of the assignment. So now, previously we were looking at video info for the resolution. Now we're going to scroll back over to that frame rate I mentioned. So as you saw in the lecture video and materials, that you need to have a higher frame rate than your timeline in order to effectively create slow motion. So now you are going to go through these clips and find something that has a higher frame rate. There are clearly tons of options here. So let's take a look and see. So you have some around 60 frames per second, and don't worry about the fraction, and about 120 frames per second. So what that tells us is that these 4 shots you can slow down by half and it would still not be glitchy. This one you can slow down by a quarter. Let's just demonstrate on one of these shots here. So I'm just going to select part of it to slow-mo, and I want to make sure that it is easy to see, that it's slowed down. So let's find an obvious spot. It's hard to tell with somebody walking towards you, so let's see when they cross here. So I'm going to make an endpoint. And an out point there before he starts moving in. And I'm going to drag this onto my timeline. Now, you'll see that it is not filling the frame. That just means it is a lower resolution than the timeline. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same as I did before. I'm going to hit that set to frame size. And I'm just going to do it next to my matched edit and keyframe here. And then it's going to fill the frame. Now this is stretching it up a little bit, right? Because this is only 720 footage. That's okay. This is practicing and seeing what it looks like when you have to stretch some footage up that's a lower resolution to fit into 1080. It is doable. It's not going to be super noticeable. You'll definitely notice that it's a slightly less quality than a shot before it that maybe is a higher resolution one, like the 4K shot. But this will give you practice in seeing what that looks like. So now, let's say I'm going to increase my playback resolution here so we can see it clearly. Now let's say I wanted to slow motion it right around there. I'm going to take my blade tool, I'm going to make a cut. And now I'm going to right click on the second part of the shot, and I'm going to say speed duration. And I know this is 60 frames per second, so I can comfortably drop it by a half. And I'm going to hit OK. And now what's happened is it looks like they slow down. Now let's say you wanted them to speed back up again, right around there. I'd again take my blade tool, right click, once switching back to my arrow tool, and hit 100 again. And now, there we go. It goes regular speed, slows down, and speeds back up again. Now, a few things to note is A, well, it has to be a high frame rate shot. B, if you do it in a different order. So let's say I made all my cuts first, and I switched to my keyboard, using my keyboard shortcut to the blade tool, and then I just wanted to slow down the middle of it. Now, let's watch through, slows down fine, but then I have a jump cut at the end. And that's because when you slow down a clip, you saw earlier that it actually extends the clip out because it takes twice as long to get through that amount of footage. So now with the second clip, since I made that cut butting up to it, it doesn't give it room to grow. So it just creates that jump cut. It's not going to push the clip aside. So that's why it's essential that you do it in the order that I showed previously. You make a cut, slow the middle shot down, make a second cut, speed it up again. So there are other ways to affect time. So instead of using the speed duration tool, you could also right click on the FX tool and you could hit speed And that then allows this line to affect speed. So then I could decrease the speed there as I drag this down. It shows me how I've decreased the speed of it and increased the speed of it. So that is another way, and there is a LinkedIn tutorial that goes in more depth of how you can use that tool. But for this assignment, it's not necessary. I just wanted to point it out that there are different ways to do it. If you learned a different way, that's totally okay. I just cared that the shot goes regular speed, slows down, and then goes regular speed again. Again, make it obvious so that I can tell that it has been slowed down. Make sure you aren't dropping to a point that it's glitching, so make sure you have the frame rate to slow it down by the amount you're slowing it down by. And then do this again. So I need 2 shots. So you can't use the same one that I used. So find a different one. So if you happen to use this for one of them, that's totally okay. But then find a different high frame rate shot and slow that baby down in the same way. Cool. So then you'll have your 4 shots in the timeline, your matched edit, your keyframe, and your 2 slow-mo shots just back to back here. This is not a storytelling assignment. This is just a tech assignment practicing the skills that you could then use in a actual video. So make sure that you pick a shot that you may actually consider slow-moing for dramatic effect if you were using it in a video. So yeah, this is just practicing skills, identifying frame rate, identifying resolution, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you're labeling your clips across along the way. So after this, you'll have your audio fix as well. Make sure you're doing it in the order of the assignment sheet, so you double check you're doing it in that order. And for that, you are going to use this soundbite for audition here. You don't have to take it into audition, but make sure that you watch through the tutorial in the lecture that I have posted on cleaning up audio and apply those techniques to this clip without making it sound distorted. And then in the next tutorial that I personally make, we'll go over color correcting those 3cc shots. So ignore those. You don't want to be using those for your frame rate and resolution shots. That's for color correcting. Those are just going to be dumped after these on this timeline here to practice those skills. I do mention that you have to label the clips. So that's part of the assignment. So I have to just type in here. I'm just using the text tool and typing in matched edit and then adjusting that. And then this one would be my ridiculous keyframe movement. Yours is going to be more realistic. And then I would just say keyframe movement. You might want to add on there on 4K so that I know that it is 4K. So there we go. Same with the first one. And then these, you could just say slow-mo 1 and slow-mo 2. And then the other one is audio repair, CC 1, 2, and 3. Whatever works, as long as I know what you were trying to do and you followed the order that they are listed in the assignment sheet. All these criteria are also written in the assignment sheet and rubric. So I know I just went over text super duper fast, but in the LinkedIn Learning tutorials it goes into more detail on how to create text. And as always, if you need more resources and you're struggling with a text tool or keyframe movements or slowing things down, you can always type it into YouTube or go through the full course that I've posted in the LinkedIn Learning tutorials at the bottom and just cherry pick some videos. I've just used a small amount of those videos, so you could totally pick more choices from there as well that go over these topics more in depth. I don't pick a whole section, I just pick 1 or 2 videos, so sometimes they may be out of context, so you may want to watch the videos around it just so that you can understand things better, especially if you are struggling. So that's it for this portion of the assignment. Get those things done, and then once you've done these, then move on to the color correction part of the assignment in the next tutorial.